Welcome to an escape room in Hungary's capital. Believe it or not, the activity you see is part of a European research project looking at how best to preserve historical material from cultural resistance to communist regimes in Central and Eastern Europe. But to what extent is that possible? I invite you to find out. A crime has been committed and players need to find clues in this room set in communist times. All the furniture is vintage and players have to manipulate real objects including photos, slides or samizdat. That's underground publications which were illegal under communist regimes. Once the game is over, players talk about the experience with a sociologist.
They can somehow face reality of the past, and they can not only learn about that part of their past at school, but also see the actual documents, to see the actual photos, to be able to hold these samizdat issues in their hands, to read them and to be able to grasp the past.
Footage, photos, sounds, music or posters. Thousands of documents telling the story of a cultural opposition to communist regimes. They're now part of a huge online database with apps and completed with books and even board games. This research effort is focused on preserving the history and seeing it through a new lens.
The documents help us to understand what was important during the 60s, 70s and 80s, and how power tried to crush the people, but also how people tried to revolt against power using culture. This interaction at a cultural level between power and people also helps us understand that historical moment.
Among the database's contributing archives, this one was founded in 1979, hosting around 150,000 documents including books, songs, recorded poetry and letters. It comes from 6,000 artists and art institutions. The collection covers 600 meters of shelves.
We soon started to build a directory together with researchers. I think this project is extremely important because archives like ours can contribute to the database. But it's also particularly meaningful because the public can now access collections that were totally unknown before.
Collections like this one, which is owned by a former music journalist. Tamas collected around 1,000 posters promoting underground musical events in the 1970s and 1980s.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, event organisers would put the posters onto the streets, and in a couple of hours, days, they would disappear. It all went very fast. As I was involved in this underground world as a journalist, the gathering of documents was important, so I started collecting them. Back then, I worked as a collector and documentalist at the same time.
Regularly updated with new material, including rare musical recordings, the database can be checked online